Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case, again, we see the President of the United States trying to ban firearms from Americans, something that they apparently never get tired of, and this is what Joe Biden has to say.
We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault...
Okay, yeah, old Joe doesn't know that assault weapons are already extremely regulated, super expensive, and they're rarely used in any kind of violent crime. They cost thousands upon thousands of dollars, and the regulations you have are insane in the United States and pretty much the rest of the world as well for them. Fully automatic, an assault weapon is a fully automatic fire. It's like a carbine or rifle that shoots automatically as you keep the trigger pulled, empties the magazine. Unlike in movies, it's going to be in a couple seconds you're out of rounds. So they're kind of even useless at some extent unless you're talking about a very specific tactical situation where you can't use small arms with magazines. You're not talking about any belt-fed weapon, just a detachable magazine AR with fully automatic switch. It is kind of pointless. That's why usually most of the case, you prefer semi-automatic, which is what he is calling assault weapons. When he says that an AR is an assault weapon, no, it's not, because it should be fully automatic, so it has to be one. We all know what they're doing with the language. Same thing for high-capacity magazines. What are high-capacity magazines? Any pistol you find today in the market is going to be one of these high-capacity magazines. The magazine in your Glock, in your AR. So you're basically talking about banning magazines for semi-automatic firearms and talking about banning ARs, which are the most common semi-automatic rifle in the planet. Not only in the United States, in the rest of the world as well, and many countries build their own ARs too, just like in the United States. So it's an ubiquitous, all over the place kind of firearm that they want to ban. Well, enough of this, man. Let's look at some of the brightest minds of our generation, what they have to say.
To make the loss of these lives matter.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. So, what is that? I mean, yeah, I know he's an actor. Well, why is an actor talking about gun laws or gun bans in the White House? Even if you're Matthew damn McConaughey, and I'll spare you the bullshit he rants here about, but this is the same man that was talking about, well, if you have a 2+1 magazine limit for duck hunting, then that should apply to self-defense as well. Anyway, idiotic people that don't know what they're talking about. In this video, you want complete honesty. It's kind of pointless because I can tell you pretty much what gun law would actually work. What kind of change in the existing system that you have would definitely work, and it would work well for gun owners, and it would also keep guns away from people that are insane, crazy, and criminals. It's not all that complicated. It's actually quite simple, but there's interest involved here, both on the side of Republicans that use this as a fear-mongering, oh, they're coming for our guns, and on Democrats, oh, these damn rednecks and white supremacists, they want to kill us all, so we have to ban the guns, and nothing really ever gets done. Most of all because at the end of the day, you do have a Second Amendment. Fortunately so, you have the Second Amendment, which is the first thing you should actually look at if you're really considering having any sane, reasonable laws and changes to the existing ones that would make anything better. If you want to have something better, the first thing you should understand is, okay, what is it that we can actually do based on the Second Amendment? Second Amendment right after the First Amendment, which gives you the right to speak freely, the most essential basic liberty that you have. It's not a coincidence that right after that, your second one is the one that assures you the right to be armed. It's recognizing God giving right to life and to protect that life, and most of all, to protect your freedom, which is something that these people clearly don't understand. It says, well-regulated militia, over there, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, first part, regulated militia. Regulated means well-equipped, well-armed. There's no risk of shoes, coats, and belts being banned. Guns, very much so. So, when you're looking at regulated, it means equipped and armed. So, specifically talking about the guns for a militia. And what is a militia? It is the armed people, the armed men and women of the country standing for themselves. Against who? Well, if it's ever necessary, against a tyrannical government. That's why it says being necessary to the security of a free state. It's not talking about self-defense. It's not talking about hunting. It's definitely not talking about sport shooting. It's talking about the security of a free state. You're talking about protecting society from a tyrannical government. That's the essence of the Second Amendment. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So you cannot infringe on this right. Of course, you have laws, you have regulations that make sure that all of this is encompassed in some kind of a code, laws, articles, and some way in which, for example, there's a limit to what age you can buy a gun. Criminals, no. Yeah, criminals are not allowed to buy firearms. Violent felons, people that would be a risk, crazy people, this is something that this would not apply to them. So we already see that there's even though it is quite encompassing in the essence of what the Second Amendment is, you need to have a society that is armed so as to be capable of defending itself against a tyrannical government. If this man becomes a dictator, he doesn't want to leave power. If you end up in a situation like China or like Russia, where you have a man in power for 20 years and counting, and you want to rise against this tyranny, you have guns so as to do that. So this means you also have to recognize the kind of guns that you want to have in terms of respecting the essence, the soul of what the Second Amendment is, which means military kind of firearms, fighting weapons, not target shooting, not hunting. The essence of the Second Amendment implies that these need to be guns. I mean, the average American should have guns that would allow him to fight against a tyrannical government, would allow him to fight against the military of such tyrannical government. This means that double-barrel shotguns, hunting deer rifles, all of that is not really what they're talking about. They're talking about specifically the guns that this old man wants to ban. Now, okay, so you're looking at what? Having a kind of system that makes sure you don't have guns in the hands of criminals, right? Let me know if you agree with me or not in the comments section, if you agree with part of what I'm saying or disagree with some other parts. One of the things I would look at is the experience of the concealed carry license that has been so effective. Now, a license that allows you to get your gun and carry it. Let me know exactly in your state how that goes, but usually there's a basic test of, a proficient handling of a firearm so as to not be a risk to yourself and others. I think that, it probably makes sense, yes. If I would be looking at changing the laws, I would have just like a concealed carry license, right, that extends to owning every kind of gun there is. I wouldn't have any kind of limits to barrel length, magazine capacity of any kind. It's stupid, and actually you want to have more capacity in your magazine for self-defense. The more you have, the better it is. And barrel length, who gives a damn if it's a 14-inch barrel or a 20-inch barrel? And, one of those would be maybe more convenient for fighting in closer quarters. Again, well, that's okay, because that's exactly what I want. If I want to fight in, urban warfare against tyranny, maybe I want to have a 14-inch AR with a 50-round mag. Even though it's not maybe all that convenient, but I should have that within my toolbox. If you look at how complex it is for people to get a driver's license, right? Everywhere in the world you look, there's really not a concern of, oh man, we're not going to be able to have cars because I have to get a car permit. Well, the same goes with a gun permit. You could have a license like you have for your concealed carry gun, being in general just a gun license that traditionally people would have at 16, 18. I think that if you're able to drive a car at 16, you should probably be responsible enough to have a firearm as well as 16. A car is a lot more dangerous, a lot more complex, and a lot harder to figure out how to use it daily safely than a firearm. A basic firearms, and I'm talking here from what I've seen in other countries, myself, my experience in this. usually it's really not all that complicated, right? I'd like to know your experience with your concealed carry license. How hard was that test? Do you find it that is maybe infringing on your Second Amendment rights because they've done it so hard, it's so difficult? Well, that's definitely something that if you're going to be doing things properly, which none of these people want, you would have something that is, safely a basic safety course, right, for your gun license. You have your safety course pass. Okay, you get your gun. It should be a shall issue permit, just like it is in some states with concealed carry licenses. I think that works very well. Now, I don't know if you guys get any psychological tests. I've had in the different countries that I've lived, I've had to go through some of these psychological tests. Back in Argentina, I've known of people that did not pass them. And is this infringing? Well, I'll let you guys decide if that's infringement or not. I can tell you this, though. This is for the constitutionalists, the experts in law that would say, no, Fernando, that could never be done because it would be infringing on the Second Amendment. Again, I would argue that if you're going to be infringing on the rights of a criminal to have a gun, I don't see why you wouldn't want to infringe on the right of a lunatic of owning a gun as well. So personally, I would be okay with criminals and crazy people not having access to firearms. I don't think that everyone should have a gun. I don't know what your experience been. My experience been that there's some people that should not have guns. There's people that should not be allowed to, drive a car because they're a danger to themselves and others. There's people that should not be allowed to walk freely on the streets because they're a menace to society and they've proven themselves to be so by the crimes they've committed. So that's just part of this beautiful spectrum of reality that we have to deal with. Now, specifically talking about the psychological aspect of this. So the way I see it, just get rid of the ATF, get rid of all the crap these assholes want to have, and just get a simple license. A license that would be a shall issue license for any adult, 16 or 18-year-old, that wants to have a gun. You go just like you get your car in a much more simple fashion. Okay, basic safe handling of a firearm, where it points at where it shoots. You understand the way in which you should carry this safely, should you choose to do so. And that's the aspect of safe handling of a firearm. You show that you don't have any criminal record that would, incapacitate you from owning a firearm because you known threat to society. And the psychological test. I think that a lot of people will lose their shit if they had to go through a psychological test because many people, not most, but many people would not. And again, I'm talking from personal experience here. I've had these tests done myself back in Argentina. This is requirement. You want to have a gun, you have to pass the test. And the test is very interesting because it is stuff like, do you think that people are trying to poison you? And you would say, no. Well, that would be the normal answer. There are people out there that will, I think that my coworkers are trying to poison me. And I think that people in general try to kill me. There's people that will answer yes to that question. Immediately, that would disqualify someone from having a gun, right? If someone has this. And there's also, the test is not all that long. Most of the ones I've done are pretty similar, but it's stuff like repeat the drawing that you see on the left to your right, and you have a circle. Okay, you have to draw another circle. Now, if someone has a disconnection with reality, instead of a circle, he will draw a square because he cannot relate to that. He cannot understand the reality around him. These are people that are usually denied a firearms license in some of the countries I've been with this kind of test. Stuff like, do you think that people are trying to poison you? Are you hearing voices telling you to do horrible things? Do you have an evil spirit inside you telling you to commit awful crimes? And your answer would be what? Let me know in the comment section. What would be your answer? No, there's people that would answer yes. And just like that's simply one of the more basic ones. But if you fail on that question, you shouldn't have a gun. And a lot of these people that you see in this video, and this is amazing, but watch this one. Look this woman up, Sav says, look it up, the channel. This woman interviews a lot of these people. I will tell you that most of these people would fail a basic a psychological test. They do not have a safe connection with reality. Their heads are tricking them into believing something that is not real. These people would not pass. Most of these people, at least a huge percentage of these people would fail your basic, psychological test for having a firearm. I personally think they should. I personally think that a lot of these people should not have a gun because they're probably a danger to themselves and others. And this would quite align with the extremely high suicide rates you see among these people. So if you're going to be talking about gun laws, gun regulation, this is one of the things that if you actually have, all of these people many of these people would be out of it, right? As of the rest, get rid of the crap that does not work. Why do you even have an ATF? No country has ATF. You should get rid of all of that, have a basic permit license, not all that different from your concealed carry license, and that's what enables you to buy any gun of any capacity, any barrel length, and that's it. The day you're 18 years old, you go, you get it in a matter of a day or two, whatever it is that it takes, depending on how well it's structured in your specific state, and that's the end of it. That's how you get rid of, not all, because there's going to be always criminals that, of course, break the law. There's going to be a black market for illegal firearms sold around. But this is how you would be saving billions of dollars in worthless crap like the ATF and the rest of this anti-gun lobby, or even the pro-gun lobby that so often screws actual gun owners, right? That's how you would be getting rid of all of that crap and making sure crazy people don't have access to firearms as well. I'm telling you that some of the basic simple tests I've done, I've seen people next to me fail. And looking at them for 5 minutes, you got why they failed it. Because they probably should not be having a firearm at all. They don't have that connection with reality. They have delusions, and they would be a risk maybe for others or themselves. That's my take on it, guys. Let me know what you think. That's the way I see as a plausible solution that probably no one is interested in applying because it probably would work, and it would end the agenda, the lobby going on for a lot of these assholes and clowns. Guys, if you want to learn more about survival and preparedness, especially the economic aspect of it, Surviving the Economic Collapse, that's my book available in Amazon in the links below, and for specifically practical survival skills, including firearms, self-defense, street survival skills, where I cover quite a bit of the aspect of firearms and their use for self-defense and security out there on the street and a bunch of other stuff. See you in our next video, guys. Take care.